When your mental health starts declining, your physical health can follow the suit.
So people sometimes they don't want to admit that something is not right with the mental condition, emotional well-being. So they are more willing to find the physical cause than to admit that they need to take care of their emotions. Most of the time, it's not about the communication. It's about how I'm feeling in this connection. I think that going abroad and meeting new people is a great opportunity to explore yourself as well, to connect with your own points of view.
Connections are very important. The healthiest people was the ones that had the best relationships around. Welcome to the Volunteer Support Podcast, brought to you by the European Union's co-funded project Promptus.edu, a collaboration between associations Audis Out Mori and Building Bridges.
Welcome to Volunteer Support Podcast, where we address common volunteer questions and concerns. Today's episode is about connection between physical and psychological health. Although the mind and the body are considered separate, mental and physical health are actually closely related. Good mental health can positively affect your physical health. In return, poor mental health can negatively affect your physical health. In this episode with you is Audis Out Mori team, me, Gabriele, and Tadas.
Hello.
And we brought a special guest, Migle, who is psychologist and candidate PhD to discuss this topic deeper. I have a first question for you. Migle, could you please share a bit about the work that you do?
Yes. First of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to speak about the connection in between the body and the emotional well-being. I would like to tell a little bit about myself, about my activities. I'm a psychologist and I'm working with psychological evaluation. So basically I'm researching stress during my research program, and also I'm working with practical aspects of stress. Also, I have my clients whom I'm seeing every week. So I'm working in the scientific area, and also I'm doing practical work with people. And the connection in between the body and the psychological well-being, it is very clearly seen at my work. Because if we would look from a theoretical perspective, the stress is always the physical reaction, which most of the time is caused by perception, how people perceive the environment, threats, dangers around them. And this is extremely interesting because we are all so different, and some things which might be seen as threat for one person is like really neutral for another one. My work is to help people identify the threats and help to neutralize the perception of it.
That's a very interesting topic to research about, and also very useful for the person who is having the stressors. And
A lot of people are having stressors nowadays.
I've also heard that the place that you work is very innovative and unique, and they take a holistic approach into treating their patients. Could you please share how do you work with patients there?
Yeah, so I'm working. Can I mention the name of the place?
If you want to.
So I'm working in this clinic, which is called Health Optimizing Vilnius. There is a network of these clinics. We have some of them in Europe and in United States, and also I think we have one in Indonesia. So this is very nice concept, which considers emotional well-being as a very important part of health. And when we are speaking about the healing process or recovery, first of all, according to this concept, we need to take care of the emotions. And only then we take care of the body. We use very innovative technologies, and the technology I'm working with is Aquera voice analysis, which is impressive and very useful while evaluating the well-being of a person, because we are using the marks in the voice to detect stress markers. Because when we are stressed, usually our voice is much higher, the frequencies of the voice is different. So when we are evaluating the stress, we ask for a person to speak to the microphone, and we are recording the marks in the voice. We are comparing it with big database, and we receive the evaluation, the number, the stress level, and then we are starting the conversation. Because if the stress is high, it is extremely important to identify the main causes of the stress. What is it? Is it like a crisis, or maybe it's burnout, or maybe something is happening in a personal life and things like that. My favorite definition of stress, like what causes the stress, is not having enough resources and meeting high demands. When the demands are high and resources are low, we are facing the stressful situations. So my work starts when we are starting to analyze how can we reduce the demands and increase the resources. And it might be very different for each person, because for some people, we just need to find some time for them to sleep. Again, we are coming back to the physical thing, because to function, first of all, we need to have some energy. So we are giving the resource of sleep, good food, exercises, and things like that. And of course, to reduce the demands, maybe lower the amount of hours spent at work during the week, or maybe to postpone some projects if it's possible, and things like that.
I thought a lot about that these demands can be inner and outer. Maybe someone is pressuring you to do certain things, but often you yourself or me myself are pressuring to perform in a certain way, to achieve certain results and so on. For me, that was very interesting thing that you mentioned in the beginning, that basically the stress is the sensations, mainly how you connected the feelings, the mental things with our body. Is either way, whatever we are thinking, it makes us feel something, and we feel that in our bodies, like whatever sensation, and we recognize it as a feeling. But it often appears because of the thoughts, of the concepts that we have.
Yes, emotions mostly are the reactions. We are reacting to the environment. Something is happening around us, and the emotions give us guidelines. For example, anger helps us to identify the situations which are unfair for us, or maybe even might cause damage for us. For example, guilt gives a sense of responsibility.
Thank you, Migla, for sharing. And now, Tadas, as a medical doctor, could you please describe what is health? As we're discussing the mental and physical health, could you please share your definition, or maybe you have some kind of prepared definition? What is health and how would you describe it?
Okay, so quite good definition of health is of World Health Organization. That definition was written and it's not changed from 1948, so quite long ago. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So it means that to be as healthy as possible, it's important to not only have physical health, not only mental, also social, and all the relation of these three is very important. So we can't be healthy in an environment when everyone around us is suffering. The environment is very important for us, the culture around us, the community that we are living in, because the community and the behavior of other people is also affecting our lifestyle. So then it changes our personal behavior. How are we behaving is really affecting our health. It's the things that we mentioned a bit earlier, like about the sleep. Another thing of lifestyle is in the work environment. So it's also affecting very much because we spend a lot of time in the workplace, and the relations there is very affecting ourselves. And also physical environment in the workplace and around us is very affecting us. As let's say example could be that if we have more bicycle lanes in the city, more people are using bicycles to travel, to go to work for the leisure time. So it affects the health because if people are more physically active, they are healthier. As I said before, the definition of health is a part of physical, mental, and social well-being. So there is lots of parts in the health.
So that was interesting to hear that usually when I'm thinking about health, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not sick, I'm feeling okay, and probably I'm healthy. But I have never thought that social well-being is also taking into consideration when we think about health. I never went to a doctor who said like, okay, but do you have enough close relationships with someone? Do you feel stressed at work? No, they just take my blood test, urine samples, and that's it. Okay, your measures are okay. So that's how that's in my head. Okay, you're just being checked on parameters. You're healthy. And go on.
So the thing is that in the health system, we don't have enough time for this, to take care of this. And actually, the healthcare system is contributing to around 20% of the health. The rest are social factors and lifestyle. So the lifestyle actually affects our genes. So we have epigenetics. We can turn on and turn off the genes based on our behavior. So it really has a big effect.
And from the perspective of psychologist, I see it in my practice. Very healthy people are coming because they are worried about their family members, because they are sick, for example, or it's easier to do exercises if there is some area for it. Because when we are speaking about stress, like being physically active is the number one thing that person might do for himself or herself to support the system in the body and help to release the pressure and make themselves feel much better. But if the environment is not supporting that, if there's no gym around, or if there's no spot of nature around, it is very hard to have this willpower to go to sit in the car and drive for half of an hour and take a walk in the forest. So I really support this definition. It makes sense.
In your work, have you noticed any connection between physical and mental well-being?
Yes, there is a very close connection between these. And one of the examples which comes to my mind is when a student ends the session of exams, they getting fever and cold, because during the exams, they are experiencing tension. They need to do their best and get the best marks. But when the stress is over, the body just relaxes and then it deals with everything what was postponed. So, for example, the virus or something like that. Maybe Tadas can add more about this.
I could just add that when people are taking holidays, they are sharing that, oh, I took holiday and I was sick for a whole time of the holiday. And they're angry about that because they wanted to do something else. But yeah, they were very stressed, a lot of work, and then the holiday is just for the sick part.
And most of the times the digestion system is the one which responds to what's going on around them. For example, like gastritis, when there's something going on at work, like a big project, the final of the big project, they start to feel the pain in the stomach. And sometimes the body gives the sign that something is not right. Because people, like, they think a lot about what's going on. They want to perform, they want to do the best, they give the best efforts, all the energy, and the body is the one who stops them from going to the burnout. So sometimes the pain in the body works in our favor, that something is not right and we need to take a step back. But most of the times it is seen as a symptom which needs to be solved. But I think it needs careful consideration what is going on and why we are feeling those pains or symptoms, because it always gives the message that we need to do something differently. So instead of trying to get rid of it, we need to try to see the meaning behind it.
So painkillers is not the best thing that you can choose. To analyze and to think what is the root cause of this is the best thing what we can do for ourselves, and think why I'm feeling the pain, where does it come from.
I can add to that. Do I want to be in this pain? Because sometimes people spend 8, 9, or even 10 hours sitting close to their working desk, like working, doing things with their computer, and they are feeling the back pain, they are feeling pain in the head, all the unpleasant sensations in their eyes, and it is becoming a norm. Do we really want to live in pain? Maybe there is a better way. Maybe we can think about the balance where we can avoid the sensations in the body. Because if the body is suffering, if we are in pain, of course we are unhappy, because it's very difficult to be relaxed if I'm hungry, and it's very difficult to feel joy if I'm feeling pain. So if we are seeking for better emotional well-being and more positive emotions, first of all, we should start thinking, how can we reduce the sensations in the body which might be unpleasant?
It's about awareness and understanding that, oh, I have a pain, but it's not running away from the pain and just having those drugs that would just kill it. There are some meditation practices even that if you are focusing on the pain, it is lowering, because pain is just a symptom. So our body wants to show us something. And if we are running away from that sensation, body is just trying harder. See that there is some problem there.
I can share not from my practices, but from my own experience, how the physical affects my mental being and my emotions. So when I was abroad, when I was in Madrid doing my practice in the lab, I have this thing that I forget to eat. If I'm focused, I forget to eat, I forget to drink, I forget to rest. I'm being out there, I'm in my flow, but it comes with these pluses and minuses. And in the evening, usually it comes to this, I become very distracted and I become angry. I'm working with people, I'm working with these plates and so on, and I feel the anger inside me. But then I get to catch myself and I just say, okay, Gabriela, did you eat today? Okay, how many hours did I work? Do I need sleep? Do I need to drink? And just literally things like that. Okay, I will stop my things right now and I will go to eat and drink. And I will start to do my work again. Maybe I'll feel better and I continue. Maybe today is the day that I can be done with it and get some rest. Maybe today is not the day that I'm working from 8 till the night, in the midnight, because some of the days was like that. I was spending full day at the lab, but some days I could do it. Some days I felt my body that it says, no, it's okay. For today, it's enough. But yeah, I could clearly see in my emotions how my lack of sleep or lack of food affect me.
That's nice sharing. I would like to share some cases of the patients that I see, more like generalized cases. So if I'm seeing a patient that has lots of different chronic diseases, usually the face is sad, and I'm not evaluating the psychological health, but I can feel that that person doesn't feel good. On the other hand, I have noticed also in emergency care room that if a patient had something that really affected his psychological health, let's say there was a death in the family, someone killed themselves in the family, so then even though that patient didn't have any illnesses before, he's feeling like a pain in the stomach or a headache, and then it's hard for him to fall asleep and so on. So lots of stress, and Migla probably could explain more what's happening at that time. But yeah, what I can say that when we are feeling something in our stomach, a pain, it can be from psychological things, and quite often it happens because nervus vagus is going there and we are feeling because of that. And also there can be some positive ones, the butterflies that we are calling when we are in love with someone or we are nervous, so it's also because of that nervus vagus. So nervous system is really connected, and the emotions and the physical sensations is about nervous system. It's about the brain. It's not somewhere else. It's just happening really close by, and it has really a lot of connections.
I can add to that. There is this amazing visual representations of emotions in the body. You can search for it on the internet. It's how the temperature in the body changes according to the emotion. Like when we are angry, these photos made with thermo camera, so the circulation goes and the temperature is higher in our hands and in upper body. When person is feeling depressed, like the temperature is even lower in all body. If it is love, it's in the torso, and if it's disgust, it is in the throat. So this is very interesting, and there are lots of new researches like with brain scans where we can see how different emotions and states of mind might be expressed in physical changes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I remembered about having a higher temperature for some patients. So for adults, it's not like that. But if you have a newborn and it's crying a lot, so the temperature is getting higher just because that baby is crying. And just because of the emotional state, the crying, that feeling something that is not good, the body temperature is rising.
And scientific literature also proves that there is connection and very high connection between physical and mental health. So there was a paper in 2017 about interaction between early life stresses and metabolic stresses in programming of mental and metabolic health. It was published in Current Opinion in Behavioral Sciences. So their research showed that interaction is two-way street. Metabolic problems, diabetes, hypertension, or even just prolonged periods of pure nutrition can cause stress-induced changes in the brain that lead to mood and neurodevelopmental disorders. Likewise, certain mental health disorders can cause stress that triggers metabolic changes that over time can develop into these some metabolic diseases. And when you are feeling good, when you are in good mental health, you can stay physically healthy easier. In fact, studies shown that having positive outlook on life can reduce the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Additionally, studies show that happiness helps to reduce levels of inflammation in the body. On the other hand, when your mental health starts declining, your physical health can follow the suit. For example, research suggests that depression is linked to cancer, chronic pain, and thyroid problems, heart disease, and even multiple sclerosis. I've read that mental health significantly affects physical health in several ways. Mental health conditions, particularly depression, have been linked to many chronic illnesses, including diabetes, asthma, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, and arthritis. For instance, people with depression or other mental health conditions have higher mortality rate from heart diseases and cancer. And also, mental health conditions often co-occurs with sleep disorders. So these people not only having the negative emotions, but also they develop some sleep problems, and the percentage is quite high. The people who are feeling stress also, they have more inflammation in their body, and more inflammation helps to develop other diseases and worsen such conditions as arthritis and others. Also, speaking about behavior changes, mental health conditions can lead to behavior that negatively affect your physical health and develop unhealthy habits. For example, individuals with depression may be less likely to engage in physical activity or maintaining healthy diet, healthy relationships, and so on.
You mentioned inflammation, and inflammation is affecting a lot of diseases. And as you mentioned, it also is connected to stress. Lots of emotions, negative ones, can have that effect on inflammation. But then inflammation is very important because different diseases, not only inflammatory diseases, is having effect on our health. Inflammation is part of our immune system, but when we are having a lot of chronic inflammation in our body, our immune system is not able to detect other areas where there should be inflammation, the active inflammation. Let's say there are some cancer cell. So cancer cell is our body cell that is changing, mutating, and because of that is just dividing a lot of times and without stopping. So it's happening every day and our immune system is killing it and we are healthy, yeah? But when we're having a lot of chronic inflammation, our immune system is not strong enough to detect that, and then we have cancer. Then another thing, let's say we want to grow muscle. So if we want to grow muscle, we need to have active harm of the muscle. So there is really tension and some breakage. And then we have inflammation. And then we need to have enough energy to not have all around inflammation in our body to be able to regenerate the muscle and to make it stronger. And if we don't have it, then our training that we did is not that effective. It means that even though we are doing a lot of things that is good for us, like training, it's very important also what we are doing before and after.
So even from the psychological point of view, we cannot grow if we are feeling lack of resources. So I guess it's the same in the body. If we don't have enough resources to deal with the issue, which is acute right now, we cannot grow and do something extra. Is that the point?
Yes, exactly that.
And we have chronic inflammation when we feel stressed for longer periods of time. So if the acute stressors come up, we do not have that much resources to deal with it in a situation that it appears.
Yes, I can share my own example. I was not having enough of sleep. I was having too much work, so I didn't have enough free time to rest. And then what was happening that I was feeling pain in my toes and there was inflammation. And then what I really need to is just to have rest, because just anti-inflammatory cream was not helping me. So to have just enough of sleep and to just have rest was the main part that helped me to treat myself.
So as we were preparing for this episode, probably the first thought in my head about the connection between physical and mental well-being was about psychosomatic disorders. For instance, if the person is feeling anxiety, he may experience abdominal pain, fatigue, headache, or insomnia. Similarly, as Migla mentioned. And have you ever encountered in your work some of these? And how do you deal with these situations? How not to mix them with the real conditions? And if you recognize that, okay, this is probably because of some psychological problems, how to deal with it? Because person is feeling it and probably they want to reduce it.
Yeah, this is a very good question. And I think it's very important to speak about this. I believe that it's never only one cause. It's few causes which are overlapping. It might be something physical, like physical body dysfunction, or maybe the body is just facing some challenges because of the lifestyle. But the emotional environment, like studies, social well-being, relationship with the romantic partner, with the family, is also giving the impact for the problem, and it might be one of the factors which aggravates the sensations in the body, the pain and things like that. But if we want to solve it, we also need to address all the causes. So we need to give the resources for the body, and we also need to take care of the emotions. And I have few clients who have very good results because they were working with both physical body and mental well-being. So I had this client who had this very unpleasant symptom, acute diarrhea. And every time he was feeling threat, he was urged to go to the restroom. And he's a student and he's taking his exams. He is dating, and it gives lots of emotions, and the emotions extremely intense. We worked with him for 3 months. He changed his diet. He was taking some supplements. We also worked with the perception, because after a few times of rushing to the restroom, he was not confident enough to go to see a date or to go and take the exam he was postponing these things. So the issue is not gone. Sometimes he's feeling the same symptom, but now it is not so strong, and at least he is capable to control it.
So basically addressing both the physical things that can be changed, in this example, the diet that will reduce the symptoms of diarrhea, but also the mental aspects.
Yeah, and also there are some examples with migraine when people are feeling extreme pain in the head area. If we are managing to control the anxiety and emotions, sometimes they are able to have these episodes of pain not so intense and also a little bit lighter, like shorter in period of time. But people should be motivated to analyze the situations in their lives. What's going on? Why I'm feeling this pain? Am I feeling pressure at work? Or maybe I'm insecure because of my relationship situation. So one of the main things, if we want to work with psychosomatical issues, is to be able to reflect what's going on. And sometimes people are not willing to face the emotions, especially when it's destructive emotions, like being afraid, to admit that I'm afraid of what's going on, or to admit that I'm not feeling secure in the situation, or that I might be failing the situation. First of all, we need to be like really open for what's going on in the emotional level. And if we are not seeing causes there, then we should be really motivated to check what's going on with our body. But of course, I would recommend to do both things at the same time. Take care of the body, check what's going on, and also reflect on the emotions.
So I will react about psychosomatic illnesses from doctor's perspective. So it's very hard. These are the patients that are the most problematic ones. They are going through different doctors. They are trying to find their reason. And if they are not finding psychological help, that is happening quite often. So they are not finding the cause, and then they are feeling, and it's real. Like the pain is real, the sensation is real. We shouldn't say that, oh, it's psychosomatic, so it's nothing. No, there is no somatic changes in the body that could have that pain. But then from the doctor's perspective, we have to do a lot of tests, because to diagnose psychosomatic illness means that we have to evaluate every other disease, and we have to say that no, it's not that disease. It's a lot of work to diagnose psychosomatic illness, and it's not the first consultation that you can do it. It takes quite a lot of time.
And I also want to react a little bit. If people are not willing to admit that they are feeling intense emotions which are not expressed and that might cause the pain in the body, most of the times they are blaming the doctors. Something is wrong, but they are not able to find it. Even after they were directed to the psychologist or psychiatrist for a few times, and they are coming just to get the line marked that they already tried, and then we start working, and then we find the stress level is high. There is a big disappointment in things. There is no social connections. There is no time for good rest and things like that. So people sometimes they don't want to admit that something is not right with the mental condition, emotional well-being. So they are more willing to find the physical cause than to admit that they need to take care of their emotions.
So I feel like we quite discussed the relationship between our body and mental health. Now I'm thinking about our volunteers that who are considering going abroad or is already gone, and the feelings that they feel, and that these feelings may feel in their bodies in a certain way. So probably it's their first time to be for such a long time alone abroad, and they might feel the changes of timetable, the schedule, the environment. So what kind of advices could you give?
So when we are changing the environment, we are facing lots of stressors. And I want to mention that stress is not always the thing which reduce our capability to act. Sometimes we need some stress to adopt, to do some things to get some extra energy. So when we are changing the environment, particular amount of stress might be very helpful. However, the stressors might be around us. We are changing the bed. We are changing the food. We are changing the social environment. First of all, we need to make sure that we are feeling comfortable and relaxed, because no matter where we are, we need to have some safe space. It might be physical, it might be emotional. If we are thinking about physical thing, we need to make sure that we have a cozy room if it's important for us. And if we need some safe space emotionally, we should think about friend, the one we can connect to when we are feeling upset or something is not so right or we faced some challenges. Of course, we need to think about the ways how to help ourselves to relax. What helped when we were living in our environment before traveling abroad? What was my thing to help myself to calm down? Maybe I need to watch the movie, listen for some music, go and take a walk, things like that. Maybe we can take that and we can use it in a new environment. It is very related with getting to know what I like and what I need, to noticing my needs and meeting those needs. Because sometimes when we are under the pressure or we are feeling stressed, we are postponing the needs. I'm gonna sleep later. I'll eat later. Oh, doesn't matter. I can stay with 3 people around me all day, all week, all month. But if I was living in the environment where I had some space and time for myself, I need to make sure that I'm taking not only my luggage, my clothes, my cosmetics with me to take abroad. I'm also taking the things and habits which helps me to feel secure and meet my needs abroad as well. So I'm taking my half of an hour alone, my meditation, my walk, and things like that.
Yeah, that's very well said. So, what is important to have resources, and our lifestyle is having really big impact for our energy level and for all the resources that we have. And we can't think that, oh, I will move and I will change everything. Some routines still have to be kept. And personally, I thought at some point that routine is not the thing that I want in my life, that everything should be new and everything should be fresh and innovation is very important and so on. But the thing is that in our day, we need to have the routine, like the morning routine, the evening routine, the parts of the day that would make your life healthier, that you could take care of yourself. The routine helps you to not spend a lot of energy thinking what you should do. There are some famous people that are wearing the same thing every day because they are not spending energy for thinking what should I wear. Then it's shower, breakfast, and so on, like everything is in the routine, and that helps to have more energy during the day part, when we can have some different things that every day could be different in the middle part of the day, where we can explore and have challenges in our life.
I think routine is very important. The sleep, the food schedule, because our body adapts to it and it gives some kind of safety. If it's regular sleep, that we are going every day during certain hour to sleep and wake up at a certain hour, our brain is sending the hormones that improves our sleep and wakes us up easier in the morning. Also the food, if we continue to get nutrition during the certain hour, and if one day we are skipping the lunch, our body is reacting, sending you the hunger signals to your body, and it adapts very easily, and it helps to digest the food. It helps to sleep and all these things. So I think lifestyle in general are very important, and we usually say, yeah, healthy lifestyle, but what is included in this healthy lifestyle? As I was reading, I dissected it into several categories. So it would be nutrition, it would be active movement, sleep, light, communication, and engaging activities. So maybe let's start with the diet.
When we are having the changes of diet, because the choice of food is related with emotions a lot. When we are anxious or we are afraid, most of the times we are seeking for comfort food, which might not very healthy for the body, but it helps to relax. Most of the times it is salty, sweet, and fatty. But even if we are changing the diet and we are going abroad somewhere, and before we had this favorite chocolate, which gives us the feeling of safety, because when we are feeling we need some support and we are buying this particular brand of chocolate, and we are abroad, we are going to the supermarket and we cannot find our comfort food, which might give the feeling of being away. The food is so related with the emotions. So in that case, if we are having this comfort food, I would suggest to explore, find some chocolate abroad, do your thing, get new routine, look at it as opportunity, because people are experiencing, and with food it is very strong. Sometimes they are experiencing the feeling of loss. And if you would speak with people who just came from abroad, the second thing they are telling when they are saying the things they miss is some kind of food. Oh, I missed the jam of oranges from Malta. Or when I was in Spain, I really liked that pina colada and things like that. I think it's like exploring the new foods, getting new routines in eating, getting new eating habits might be a big part of the experience. And I would suggest to look at it as opportunity to make memories and not the loss that we missed something from home.
Maybe it could be like a double advice to be open to explore and make your new home a home, but also learn what your mom cooks maybe and cook for yourself and for your roommates as well. Sometimes it's a practice to have at-home parties from Erasmus that they cook the dinner from their region. In my case, I made shaltibarshi for my roommates from Madrid, and they were really interested and impressed. Why is it pink soup? But I also felt like being at home and sharing my home experiences with them as well. And also we share the traditions. But speaking about diet, I was also thinking, okay, we're changing the foods that we are eating. Maybe someone even cooked for us. Maybe before we were only living with family, and changing the diet that we eat, maybe we can have some deficiencies. And deficiencies may lead to some conditions. And I was reading a paper that people with deficiencies in omega-3 acids, in vitamin D, B vitamins, and zinc, magnesium have higher risk of depressive symptoms. And it was really interesting. When we speak about depression, I didn't thought about, okay, maybe I need some nutrients for that. But I had one experience when I was lacking vitamin D and I was feeling really down and I was complaining, oh, I don't feel energetic this winter. And my friend brought me vitamin D supplements, and each day I took, I felt like more and more energetic. So sometimes it can be very physical things. Sometimes it can be such thing as diet deficiency that can help for you.
Diet is a very broad topic and we can talk whole day about it, and it's quite controversial because it's also part of the culture. In different cultures we have different diet habits, and moving abroad can be opportunity to change diet, as you're not living with some people that was maybe having a big effect on you. But as Migla said, it's very important also to not change that much, because you're changing environment. So if you're changing everything in your life, it's a lot of stress. About the sweets, I could say that you may not even eat sweets at all, but if it's a comfort food and for psychological health is very important for you, so a bit of the sweet is good. But then to have more vegetables, it's very good. But if person didn't eat vegetables at all before, and then he's starting to eat a full plate of broccoli every day, so maybe he will feel not good at all with that. So diet is affecting our health in various ways. So I remember a case where a person from Sweden actually traveled to the bigger city from the parents' home and was having a new work and was having a lot of stress. and the health was worse and worse month by month. And then she realized what was happening in their home. So the parents all the time was having dinner together, and the salad was the first thing that they had, and after salad they had something else. It was like natural thing. And then she was not eating salad at all. She was just cooking pasta in microwave and like some quick food. And when she was not having vegetables, she was not moving enough physically. She was getting overweight, and lots of negative feelings was also getting on top. She was more nervous. She was eating more sweets and so on. Even if the sweets are comfort food for us, the recommendation from my side is that you should lower the amount of simple sugars, the ones that is raising your glucose level quickly, because then our body is excreting a lot of insulin, and insulin is lowering blood glucose level. And if the rise of the glucose is very quick, then we have very quick lowering of the glucose level. So it means that we are hungry again, and then we want to eat again. And it's American roller coaster that we can have, and it affects our mood a lot and so on. So if we have some longer chain carbohydrates, especially if we have like vegetables, lentils, grains and so on, so the glucose level rising in our blood much slower, and it lowers much slower, and it's just having more stable effect on our life, so we can have more harmony in our mood and in our physical health.
Maybe we can go to the physical activity then.
Yes, when we're speaking about doing some sports or at least taking a walk, it is extremely important. I would like to speak a bit about the anxiety. Like when we are feeling anxiety, some action needs to be done, any kind of action. Just clean the room, do your dishes, take a shower, go for a walk, take a run or something like that. Because what the researchers are pointing at the moment, like most of the people who are suffering from anxiety, they are not very dynamic in the movement. They are feeling threatened because the anxiety is about feeling threatened. And naturally, when we are feeling threatened, we need to do something. We need to fight or flight. And if we are choosing to sit on the couch and watch the movie, the anxiety levels are rising. Number one thing which a person might done for himself or herself, as I mentioned, is to be physically active. And maybe Tadas would add to this that neurotransmitters, hormones which are related with stress reactions, they disappear from the body after the physical activity. It helps to lower the levels of that.
So if you are feeling stressed, we have cortisol, the hormone. And then when we are having physical activity, cortisol level lowers after the physical activity. It can be the same with sauna also. So sauna has quite similar effect to the physical activity, as our body has also lowered the temperature more intensely. It's sweating and the heartbeat is getting higher. So we are getting less stress, and quite a lot of other things also could help. Cold showers. So when we have cold shower, there is more stress, but after cold shower for 4 or 5 hours, we have less cortisol level in our blood. So it helps lowering the baseline of our stress.
And also, speaking about physical activity, it helps to positively impact body image. When we are more active, our body is more toned, and the perception of how we look and what are we capable of changes as well. And this might be seen very clearly in meta-analysis of research. People who are doing exercises, they have better emotional well-being, and mostly because of the higher self-esteem. If we are doing sports, automatically we are feeling more capable to reach our goals and to win things and make new friends and things like that. When we are more advanced physically, we are feeling more advanced emotionally.
It's very interesting that you mentioned this, Migla, as there is some controversy in this about our body weight and physical activity, as there is quite a lot of research that is done for a long time, but now we have some data that this research was funded by some big companies that was selling sugary drinks and the things that are not healthy for us. But the thing is that to lower weight is very important to have healthy diet. Without healthy diet, we can't have this result. If we are just eating lots of sugary things and so on, as in some ads, some just desserts you're eating after physical activities. But the thing is that, as you said, if we are doing physical activity, then we are taking care more about ourselves. Our emotions are more stable. We are feeling happier. If we are feeling happier, our diet is healthier. And so it affects a lot. Because physical activity by itself, usually it's not burning that many calories, but it really affects by not only through physical activity, but through our personal behavior that is changing with physical activity.
This is very nice discussion because I would like to refer to the posture. When we are not physically active, our posture is not good. When we are not standing up straight, the confidence is getting lower. When we are physically active, our body is toned. Automatically, our posture is more correct. And the amazing research is done with runners that the posture after the competition changes according to the result and the prize they win. Automatically, if they lost the race, they are lowering the body, the look is going down, and if they win, they are facing straight or maybe even looking up, and it changes the mood, it changes everything.
So when you were talking, Migla, about the pose, I remembered the Discovery Channel and the animals. So we have some animals also that has, if they're taking more space, they are braver, they have more power, and they are dominating. So for people, it's also similar, probably like that. And also in the TED Talk or somewhere else, you may heard about the power pose. So if we are putting the hands on the side of our belly, if we are taking more space, then with this posture, we are feeling braver. We are feeling that we have more energy.
Yeah, and more power. And basically, this change might be done if our body muscles are toned. So without physical activity, we cannot imitate this posture. So we need to do exercises to have this toned body so we can use our posture in our favor.
I remember from the course that I did about depression and physical activity. And there was a study who compared physical activity with the most common drugs that used for the depression. And it shown that physical activity would be the best drug there is to treat depression. But the funny thing is that depressed people doesn't want to get physical activity. But for this reason, we are not talking about depressed people. We are speaking about volunteers. And we encourage you to do the physical activity and improve your mood levels and energy levels.
Yeah, even though it's harder, it's much better for us. And quite often patients want to take the tablet, the capsule, that is very easy to just drink and that's it. But better impact is like physical health, the meditation, the work that we have to put in, like diet. So it's all the time you have to work on that.
Mm-hmm. So the next thing that I would like to discuss is sleep schedule. What would you recommend for the people that came to new environment relating to the sleep?
So I would recommend them to go to sleep earlier than later. It is very easy to get up early if we are going to sleep early. And to go to sleep for adults, it should be around 10 p.m. or a bit earlier. There are two mechanisms that affects our sleep quality and the wanting to go to sleep. So it's melatonin that is affected by light, and it has some peaks between 10 p.m. and the midnight. So when we are going to sleep at that time, we are easier falling asleep, and the quality of our sleep is much better. And then we have around 4, 5 a.m. the peak of melatonin. So if you are going to the party and you're not sleeping, after the midnight, it's easier for you to not sleep. But then in the morning, it takes you more and you are feeling that you want to sleep. So another mechanism why we want to sleep is adenosine. So it's growing in our blood when we are not rested. So if we are sleeping just a bit during the day, so it's lowering a bit, and then we are getting up, but we are still sleepy because of that. If you are having full night sleep without disruptions, without enough length, 7 to 9 hours, then the adenosine level in the morning is very low, and then we are feeling rested. So it's very important to have a routine of the sleep, to not go to sleep often past midnight, as going before around 10 p.m. is very important for us. So we may go to sleep later, but once or twice per week. And we will feel worse, but it will not make a huge impact. Like, our body can handle that. But the thing is that if you are going to sleep later and we are sleeping like 5 hours, and that's happening Monday to Friday, and then during the weekend we think, oh, we will sleep more and we will be good. So it's not like that. The research shows that it's not happening. So even one night that we didn't sleep, we need at least 4 days regular sleep to get back to the stage where we are feeling quite normal. So the weekend doesn't help if we are not sleeping well through the whole week.
So from my point of view, I would suggest put some attention into sleeping behavior, because when we are facing some challenges, there are 3 things which are the first ones to show us that something is not right. So the changes in eating habits, when we are eating a huge amount of food or we refuse to eat, we don't feel hungry. When sleep patterns changes, when we are sleeping a lot and not feeling well rested, or when we are experiencing insomnia, we don't want to fall asleep and it's difficult to relax. And also libido, sexual behavior, when the need of intimacy is extremely high or extremely low. So patterns of sleep, habits of sleep might give information about ourselves. So when moving to a new place, it might be natural that sleep is not so good as it was before at home, because there are some changes. But if the changes affect sleep after a month or 2, maybe we need to think what might be done to improve sleeping, because it is so important, as you, Tadas, mentioned, for the recovery, for attention, being able to function during the day. There is this new profession, sleep coaches. Have you heard about it? People are paying more and more attention into the quality of sleep. And also there are some devices which might help to collect the information about sleep, like smartwatches, Oura Ring, and things like that. Because when we are feeling tired during the day, maybe it is stress, but maybe we can help for our body and our mental capacity to get better by improving the sleep. And I guess for young people, it's not very common to experience sleeping issues. But still, if we are not suffering because of sleep deprivation or things like that, we still can improve the sleep and improve our functioning during the day. Smaller amount spent on studying, better attention, and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I know some cases when young people was having some difficulties to fall asleep. So it was related to the stress. If you're feeling a lot of stress, so cortisol is really affecting the quality of the sleep. And even to fall asleep, we need to relax. We need to relax all of the muscles of our body. And if we are doing that, we can fall asleep quicker and easier.
So do you think that physical activity might help to improve sleep?
Yeah, for sure. There is research about that, but the physical activity should be not like 1 hour before going to sleep. It should be at least a couple hours. Then we can have that physical activity, which makes us more tired. So tiredness is having effect that we can fall asleep quicker. But we need to be relaxed. So if we are doing physical activity just before going to sleep, then our muscles are too tense to fall asleep quicker. But if the physical activity is not too active, like it's not running, if it's just walking, so walking can be like hour before sleep, it's not that problematic.
And do you know what are the recommendations about screen time? Because now we have this new World Health Organization recommendations for children, but is there any recommendations for people who have issues related to sleep?
I don't know exact recommendations, but the cases that I know with young people that is having hard time to fall asleep, it was related also with social media and phones, that they are not stopping using phones even through the night. So that's directly affecting because they are not sleeping, but the blue light is affecting our sleep pattern, as the blue light is disrupting production of the melatonin. And as I mentioned before, melatonin is very important for the falling asleep and the quality of the sleep. So if you're having a lot of blue light before going to sleep, then we may not sense that we want to sleep and the quality of the sleep is lower. So if we are thinking about our ancestors, they didn't have this, and there was sunset and you have less and less light, then you have a candle or something, and that there's not that much of the light. Nowadays we have a lot of lights in our home, and also we have mobile phone, the computer screen. So all the environment for us shows that, oh, it's a day, we need to be awake and we need to be active. So recommendation is at least 1 hour and even better 2 hours before going to sleep to not have devices. But if you're not using the devices at least some time before going to sleep, it will help.
Speaking about the positive effect of the light, also research shows that light, especially bright light in the morning, is really important for regulating also the sleep, also our mental health. And volunteers who go to northern regions during the winter time may not see sun that much, and they sometimes can develop depression symptoms just because the light levels are that low.
Yeah, so we may have the sunrise just at 9 a.m., yeah, and we are getting up and it's still dark. And it's quite important for our psychological health, the physical also processes in the body to understand, okay, that it's already day, and that the direct light to the skin is starting these processes. If we are living in the space where there is dark in the morning and at night there is very little daylight, then we may think about supplementing ourselves with vitamin D, because the sun directly affects our mood, but also it's through the skin. There is a reaction when we are producing vitamin D for ourselves. And if we are not having enough of the sunlight, then there is a relation to vitamin D deficiency. Of course, you can do the blood test, but at least in Lithuania, like 90% or even more people have deficiency of vitamin D if they are not supplementing. So just think about that. And as you mentioned, Gabriela, vitamin D affects the mood, the feelings that we have.
And if I'm going for exchange, for example, to Spain or Italy, would you recommend for me to have like half of an hour of sunlight in the morning?
Yeah, it would be very good for you to have in the morning, just after getting up, to have a walk in the direct sun. So it really would help your psychological and physical health.
We spoke that light is related to the energy levels. But for instance, if you during the summer, the person is in the area that the light is always there with you, the person might feel a hard time to fall asleep. So if we still speak about sleeping schedule and recommendations, so the lights should be lower intensity, changed to warmer tones, or even turned off at least 1 hour before going to sleep for the same reason, for not disrupting production of melatonin.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the blue light. So if we are living in the place where it's all the time the light, so the recommendations are to have a very dark room. So you have to cover the windows, you may cover your eyes. So it's quite similar to the night shift workers, as I have experience with this as I'm working through the nights. So when you are sleeping at daytime, so also you have to make environment to look as the night, because colder environment and also dark environment is helping to fall asleep and to have better quality of the sleep.
Okay, so another very important thing for healthy lifestyle that may not everyone consider is the connections that we have with other people. Maybe someone would like to speak about it.
So connections are very important. The relationship that we have in the life, especially we can see that for the older people, but it doesn't mean that it affects just older people, because we can better see the effect of long-term effects in the older people, as the young people didn't have enough effect of that. But in general, lifestyle is a thing that takes time to have impact on your body. So there are different researches about this. So one is about keeping records of some people, and the research time is around 40 years or something like that. And what they noticed when they were just evaluating those people, that the healthiest people was the ones that had the best relationships around. So if there's someone that you're living with, if there are some friends that you can have a talk, a deep connection, if you could share some thoughts that you really want to share, some pain that you may have or something. So it's very affecting our health. So if person doesn't have for someone to tell that, so it's affecting their health. And I can see that from like my clinical practice. I was going with ambulances, and there was some category of patients that was old and lonely, and they called the ambulances around 2 a.m. because they wanted to go to the hospital. They wanted to communicate with some people, and they wanted in the morning to go home and be healthy. And these situations were provoked because they didn't take drugs and they just wanted to go to hospitals. They were prepared for that. So it's a sad story, because communication, the need that they have, they are trying to get in the hospital. But there are some better examples about the blue zones. So there are research about that. There are Netflix series that you can watch. So blue zones are the places where live the biggest amount of people above 100 years old. So there's around 7 or 8 zones in the world. Some of them are in the islands. Some of them are in the mountains, and there are different characteristics that are describing these zones, but the healthy connections between people is very important over there. They are having parties where old and young people are around. They are communicating a lot between each other, and it's for sure, at least for them, is affecting their health and their longevity.
Yeah, I can agree with that. We can see the results while analyzing the examples of blue zones. But I think it is very important to mention that exchange programs is a good opportunity to make new connections, to meet new people with interesting life stories from different cultures. Even I can see it from my practice as a psychologist that people value connections, and friends are one of the main things, like friends, colleagues, which provide support when we are facing life challenges. And it doesn't need very intense interaction. Sometimes we just need to call for somebody and ask how they are doing. And we might be extremely happy to receive the call from somebody we met few years ago and to share how our life changed since the time we met with a person. So even if we are speaking about the relationship in between the psychologist and the client, it's also the connection. It's the relationship which helps to heal, to see yourself from a better lighting, and to share the emotions, which is not very comfortable in other places in life. So I think that going abroad and meeting new people is a great opportunity to explore yourself as well, to connect with your own points of view, to see yourself in other part of the world, and to share your story with people. Actually, I have this experience. When I graduated from my bachelor degree, I packed my bags and I went to live in Malta. I did it alone, and I spent a year in Malta, and that was so nice. That was so nice. I met so many people at work, at the university, and actually, I'm keeping in touch with them, and I can go there for holidays. And it was scary in the beginning because I was alone and my English was not perfect. But I see that people, they did not pay much attention to that. They look at you as a person, they are interested. Where are you from? What are you doing? What are your goals in life? What do you like? So I think it is very nice opportunity to see yourself in different environment. It's very important to keep the connections, to keep in touch with family and friends, but also give yourself this opportunity to make new connections and let them change you as a person.
I completely agree with you, Migla. And I remembered one more research. As I'm thinking about our listeners, volunteers going abroad, they have, as you said, Migla, opportunities to make connections that they can have later on after the experience. I want for them to be braver about connecting. And the research shows that, quite interestingly, that people are evaluating the connection that they had, the first connection with the other person, worse than actually it is. So the research was evaluating the experience of different people that had talks between each other. And conclusion of this research is that the actual experience of other person is usually better than the person is feeling by themselves. Like we are downgrading our performance in the communication, and we are feeling that, oh, I would like to meet that person again, but that person probably will not want because I was not that interesting for that person. And another person is also feeling the same. So we could be braver and just communicate with other person because probably that person is interested in you and they want to have a connection.
Interestingly, we unknowingly in Youth Line that I volunteer, we do this experiment because as we train volunteers to answer the calls, they have to build a connection. And after the talk, we ask them to reflect. How do you think you were able to connect? And usually they're devaluating themselves so much. Oh, I think we didn't connect. I think he didn't like me. I think it's 5. And then we are asking the pretend caller, the other person, how do you evaluate? Did you felt connected? And usually it's 9, it's 8 or 10. Sometimes it can be that we are devaluating ourselves too much.
So I hope it will be encouragement for you listeners to go and meet new people and connect.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to add, when we are speaking about the connection, most of the time, it's not about the communication. It's about how I'm feeling in this connection. And I don't need to be extremely interesting person sharing the stories about climbing mountains, scuba diving and things like that. No, it's how I'm creating the atmosphere. Not speaking only about myself. I'm asking what does the person thinks about or what does he or she likes. Like being equal in the connection and making the good atmosphere. I don't need to perform and put the show or something like that. I need to create the space in between, which would be cozy and nice and show that I'm aware of the person being here. So I'm listening, I'm hearing, I'm reflecting.
Yeah, that's right. And I have heard some people that shared, oh, I had the best talk, and what was happening, that person was the only one that was speaking. So the other person was just actively listening, and for that person it was the best talk because that person was able to tell what he wants to tell.
Okay, so we went through a healthy lifestyle and what does it mean? And what final thoughts do you want to share?
So I would say that what is very important is to think not only about the problems that you have, but also about your lifestyle, about your environment, and to check if you have enough sleep, the diet is good, if you have enough physical activity, the basis that helps to have enough resources for the challenges in your life, in the volunteering experience, let's say. I would encourage people to take care of their bodies, and that would affect their psychological health a lot, and vice versa, for sure.
So I can only add to this that our body and mind have these amazing abilities to adopt. The adaptation is very impressive process and we are masters of it. So I would encourage people, don't be afraid. Take care of your body. And if the body is healthy and the health is well balanced, the emotional well-being is going to be a result of that. Take care of yourself and put attention into balancing the resources and the demands. Do not demand too much and make sure that you are refueling the resources, because when we are lack of resources, it is difficult to restore it. So we need to make sure that we have time and space and opportunities for recharging every day, every week. We need to make sure that we are meeting our needs. And when the needs are met, we are able to face challenges and successfully win, even in the difficult situations.
So to sum up, we talked about how physical health affects our mental health and vice versa, and that by taking care of one, the other will naturally improve as well. So thank you for listening. Take care of your needs. Take care both of your body and your psychological health. And thank you. See you till next time.
Goodbye, listeners.
Bye.